60 million slaves passed through here, but 6 million never left the soil. They fought and they died. So, I'm ignorant. I'm a rapper at the time. I'm like, man, you must have been some real, some real niggas. He say, nah, they were Muslims.
So it just made me want to ask, like, why did you decide to leave Christianity?
Well, the thing is, I had an experience when I was young. And it's funny because I wanted to kind of like save this for my book and my doc, but I'm going to share it because it's important to understand, to be transparent when it comes to, your beliefs. Now, for me, like I said, I spent quite some time, in the church. Yeah. I was a Cub Scouts. I played basketball. Any activity that the church, offered, I was on deck. And I was an usher in church. And I remember seeing like this guy outside the church who was kind of like sad. As a kid, you don't really look deep into what could be the means of his depression.
You could just tell something.
You just see somebody's not doing well. So, a pastor at the time, Wyatt T. Walker, he marched with Dr. King as well. He used to always profess, Jesus said, come as you are. So in my mind, I said, this man here, he needs to be a part of this. So I brought him into the church. And no less than 5 minutes, I seen him walking that man out the side door. He didn't bother nobody. Probably smelled bad, wasn't dressed accordingly. And he got handled. And that affected me. Instantly. And I carried that all throughout the day. So when I went home, I told my grandma, I said, I don't think I want to go back to church. And I explained to her why. And she never forced me or compelled me to go back or anything. She just kind of tried to weigh it out and see if I would probably, feel differently later. But I never did. I felt duped, so to say. And then when I was in Bible studies, I used to come across a lot of monotheistic verses. And I'm explaining to you why this is so important, because the first commandment in the Bible tells you, thou shalt not place no other God before me. So that means that if you take the linguistic meaning of the word God, it means object of worship. It's not a name. So God is commanding you, thou shalt not take no other object of worship except me, right? So when you associate partners, right, you share his divinity to this water, or you worship this tree, or you worship the graves, and so on and so forth. You're disobeying the very first commandment. So it doesn't matter if thou don't steal, thou don't kill, thou, honor thy mother and father, so on. All those go out the window. Your faith is nullified once you disobey the very first one. So in Bible studies, I used to come across a lot of monotheistic verses. That one being the most important, the first commandment. There's another verse in Isaiah that says, you may know me and know that I am he. For me, no God was formed, nor should it be any after. For I am the Lord, and besides me, there is no Savior. So as a kid, I'm like trying to process this stuff. And like every time I used to share it with those who were entrusted with my religious education, I would never get no answers. I would get, ran down. Boy, you don't believe in Jesus Christ? Look, whoa, calm down. Pastor, I'm just asking questions.
Ask questions.
If Jesus is God, why does he pray? Who is he praying to? Like, these are simple questions for a kid that's not just sitting there just to be sitting there. I'm sitting here because y'all put me here to learn. Right. You understand? Yeah. And now I'm asking questions and I'm not getting answers. So what I did, I just stuck to my natural inclination, which we all born with. The natural inclination to know that there's only one God. Everyone is created with this. This is a mercy from your Lord that he creates you to know who he is. That's why when you speak about God, you look up. You don't look down, you don't look left, you look right. Whenever you feel at your lowest, you always look up. So you created to know that. That's a mercy from him, right? So now anything that contradicts your fitra, in Arabic means your natural disposition, then you know that it needs to be questioned. Something is not right. Because naturally this makes sense. Naturally this is good. To hit someone that's bad, like you understand these things, no one has to teach you that. Right. So I just carried on, with this understanding that there is a God, and one day, inshallah, I'm going to figure out exactly who he is. But I know there is a God. And what I was being taught wasn't bringing me closer to that.
Is it more so the people that practice Christianity, or do you think that religious organization has some like some redirection, some rediscovering, research that needs to happen.
Nah, see, the beauty of Islam is that in the Quran, Allah affirms everything that came before. So I can't be a Muslim unless I believe in Jesus. I just don't worship him. You know what I'm saying? I believe in the Prophet Muhammad, but I don't worship him. I believe in Noah, Adam being the first prophet. You know what I'm saying? We're the sons of Adam. We're not the sons of God. We're the sons of Adam. We're the offsprings of Adam. So what Islam did was broaden my understanding of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I learned that the consistency of all of these messengers and a message was to worship God and God alone. None of them ever commanded anybody to associate partners with God. So when you get to that simplicity, you start seeing where the bridges that we crossing are the same, but some of us are just taking different
Instead
paths.
of going directly to the source.
Exactly. Because if you the boss, like if you know Jeff Bezos, you're not talking to nobody else at Amazon. Why would you waste your time going through the formality of sitting in the office like this, waiting for a secretary to come out, offer you water, offer you tea, and I got Jeff Bezos on speed dial? Why wouldn't I just go straight to Jeff Bezos? Right? So if you have a creator of the heavens and the earth, and he's the facilitator of all of our affairs. Now, from a tangible standpoint, you may see a man instrumental in some of the things you receive, but you know he couldn't receive it unless it was facilitated by your Lord.
Right. That makes me think about how we as Black Americans were introduced to Christianity.
Absolutely.
Was through a form of power and control, slavery. So that makes me think upon what you just said. I wonder if people that were trying to get control use that power, knowing that you wanted to be connected to the source.
That's how I found Islam.
And put themselves in the position.
My first encounter, real encounter, because you know New York got Muslims all over the place. You just never pay attention to them because everybody grinding, everybody hustling. You ain't really paying attention what nobody believe. But my first encounter is when I went to visit, the first slave houses in Senegal, Gorée Island. And I'm gonna give you the short version. Is when I went to visit, I met a guy because I didn't want to go the tourist route. I didn't like the way it was looking too much like Disney, SeaWorld type of thing. Okay. I found somebody on the side who was a native resident of that area. And quickly he told me 60 million slaves passed through here, but 6 million never left the soil. They fought and they died. So, I'm ignorant. I'm a rapper at the time. I'm like, man, he must have been some real niggas. He said, nah, they were Muslim. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, they would not submit to no one other than Allah, and they fought and they died. He said the rest who were weaker in their faith and weaker in resolve, they were the ones who were sold and shipped, stateside. So now, if you look at how Islam still resides in all our communities, because you got Christian kids named Fatima or Fatima, Aisha. Fatima was the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. Aisha was the wife of the Prophet Muhammad. Khadijah is the first wife of the Prophet Muhammad. Ali is the cousin of, Jamal means beautiful in Arabic. All of this stuff still remains in our communities, although we still detach from why. You know what I'm saying? So that experience stripped me of nationalism. At that point, it was bigger than my skin. It was bigger than black. These people fought and died because they believed in God. Like, we wasn't out here dying for that. We was out here dying because our color. We was dying for a block, color of a rag, right, a gang, right, a street. When I learned that you had men of virtue who were dying for something greater than that, everything else went out the window for me.